Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is actually for the My Monthly Hero blog hop. This is the April kit. It's got lots of fun images to color, so I totally love it. And because it's like Mexican themed, it's a lot of bright colors. So I decided that I was going to channel my inner Giannis Makula and try to do a kind of fun pattern stamped background. This is how I do it. I know not everybody needs to have this level of control over their stamping, but I'm just really not good at spacing and things like that. So I do have some grid paper inside my MISTI. I have traced out my card onto that graph paper, and then I lined up my pattern and then I stamped it down onto that graph paper. I am going to continue to build my pattern until the entire card, quote unquote, front, which is basically just my traced outline, is completely covered. This works for me because then once I have everything stamped down here this one time, I don't have to think about it again. If I need to, I can use the grid that's on there to make sure that my spacing is good and that everything kind of is making sense. And then I don't have to worry about eyeballing it on my card, because once I'm done here, then I can just go ahead and line up my stamps with the images that I already have down. And I don't even really have to think about it, especially doing a multicolor background, which is what I'm doing here. So I have like two of the flourishes that come in the kit. I'm going to put my paper back down. I'm going to line it up with that traced edge so I know it's always going to be in the same spot. And then I've just picked out a bunch of different Hero Arts inks that I felt like would really capture that kind of bright, fun theme that's going on. So I'm using Tide Pool and Lime Green here. I'm going to stamp them down. I did end up stamping them twice, just because I guess because maybe I didn't get a great impression the first time. I don't know if that was it was probably my fault, let's be honest. But then I'm not going to clean them off because I don't have to worry about it. I'm putting them down on the graph paper. I'm going to line them back up with their next area in the pattern, and then I'm just going to do it again. And I'm going to keep doing that until I have all of the areas filled in for these stamps. Now, right now it's looking pretty barren, but we're going to keep filling it up. So for the next round, I am doing Neon Blue, which I super love this color. Oh my gosh, totally love it. And Red Royal for the other flower. And again, just the same thing. So each time I'm, moving the paper, lining those stamps back up on the gridded pattern that I've already stamped. Going to pick them up with a MISTI lid, put my paper back into place, and then ink them up accordingly. This actually went really quickly, which I like because this, I guess this portion of it is not my favorite part. The color, well, if you've been to my channel before, you know that. The coloring is my favorite part. So for this one, I'm using the Neon Purple and then Orange Soda. And then Neon Purple is almost pink. But I think it's super pretty and just bright and fun. And then for the last flower, I'm going to use Butter Bar. And then just, this one's solo, it's flying solo, to just fill that in. And then, so now this is my entire background. I'm going to go in with some Prismacolor pencils and just kind of give them a little bit more pop of color. I think that this background is pretty and it's very soft. But I wanted something that was going to be kind of like bright and fun and, punch you in the face with with color. So here I have, I started with my darkest color. I added a little bit of shading to each leaf and kind of the center of that flourish with a teal. And then I am blending that out with a lighter tealish green color. And you can see the difference here between the two, how it just adding that little bit of depth kind of really changes it up. For the Orange Soda flower, I'm going to do a little bit of orange and then a little bit of a yellowish orange. But because this is a layered flower, so there's two layers here, I'm going to add the shading where I'm starting with my darkest color. I'm adding the shading where I want the darkest parts to be. And then I'm going to blend the yellow over that. But for the portion that's in the center, I'm not going to take it all the way out to the edges. I'm going to leave a little bit of a white area because I am going to go back in there and add in just a little bit of a highlight with my white colored pencil so that way it looks like one part of the flower is sitting on top another part of the flower. It's just going to help me get a little bit of dimension. I know that these are small images. You want to make sure with your colored pencils that you have a very sharp point on them. You know, when you hear people say it, even I noticed, like as I was going through and coloring each one of these, I'd start to wear that the tip of it down. I would really, really notice when I went to go color the next flower of that color, because the tip of it gets so much wider when it's not super sharp. And so it's kind of difficult to get into like the little nooks and crannies. Here I picked like a maroon and a bright red, and I thought that that would be enough to add some depth and still have a really bright flower. So I added in the darkest parts, and then I'm going to go in with the red, and I started filling in the ones in the background completely. And then I realized that this red is super cool. Not like, hey, you're so awesome, red. Lovely to know ya. I mean, it's blue based. That's what I mean. There's like a tomato red, which is on the warm side, and then blue-based red, which is on the cool side. This is a cool red. It's not what I wanted. I wanted something that was going to be more tomatoey. So I'm going to fix it. Thankfully, color, you know what I mean? Just coloring, like there is really always a way to fix something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the orange that I used in the last flower, and I'm going to completely cover all of the petals. And by adding that orange in there, it really kind of warms up that red so it pops off the page like I wanted it to originally. So just going to go back in, fill all of that in. For most of I think for all of the flowers, I use just a yellow center. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I did add a little bit of a shadow on the left-hand side with a medium brownish color, but you can see that flower looks just completely different from the way that we originally stamped it. Moving on to this rose. First things first, don't do what I'm doing here. Don't do it. Don't do it. I started with a brown because, and this is where knowing your medium is important. I am not a colored pencil expert. I'm not a Copic expert either, but I'm way more comfortable with those. But so when I color with Copics, if I use a brown as my shadow color, it's no big deal. It blends pretty nicely. For this one, I used my brown as my shadow color, and it did not work. It wasn't good. I couldn't get it to blend. It just looked like a rose with some weird brown lines in it. Not any rose that I would want to have. So I'm starting now because, like I said, everything's fixable. So I'm going back in. I started to try the like a lightish orange color. That wasn't working. I went back and picked out I think it's actually called goldenrod. So it's a little bit of a duller orangish gold. That seemed to help some to kind of blend it out. The only problem is, like with Copics, as long as your paper isn't pilling, you can keep going over it. With colored pencils, if you fill up the tooth of the paper with color, you cannot keep depositing color. It eventually gets to some point where the wax buildup is so much that it will not take any more color. Now there are like mixatives and stuff that you can put on top of it so that you can keep building color, but I'm not that fancy, guys. You know, I'm just a card maker trying to color up some pretty festive flowers. For the green, I did the same thing that I did with the teal flourish. And then we're going to move on to the purplish pink flower. For this one, I'm going to treat it kind of the same way that I did the orange flower. I have the two layers that are going on. So I'm adding the purple to the outside layer and just minimal amounts of purple to the inside petal. I also kind of went around the center a little bit. I'm going to fill in the outside petals completely with this pinkish purple color. But then when I do the flower that's in the center, like the center section of the flower. I'm not going to take it up all the way to the edge. I'm going to leave, again, that little bit of gap so I can go in with my white colored pencil, blend that out, create a highlight so that it does give some separation and some dimension to the flower. You know, you can color these any way that you want. I just thought that it would be, there's so many like cute, fun images that are all in this kit here. There's like, you know, Latin dancers and maracas, and there's like a little, I think there's a little snake playing the maracas. And then the add-on sets are adorable. I do plan on doing another video with the some of the add-on sets just because I think they're really cute. But anyway, I wanted this to be kind of a different approach. I think when you do a blog hop, besides, you know, the prizes and the chance to win stuff, I think the joy of it is in seeing people's different approaches to the same thing. And I really wanted just kind of a little bit of a different look, not only for me, because this is not my typical style, but I wanted to show you guys something that was a little bit different, that maybe when you looked at the kit, like if you're a subscriber and you automatically get the kit, maybe you didn't think of that. So here, everything's done and colored. I felt like it was a little bit empty. So again, don't feel like you're married to any of the stuff. You can always adjust it. There is a smaller flower in the kit. I'm just going in and adding that in with the blue ink, because I felt like I lost a lot of my blue anyway when I trimmed it down. And pardon my lighting. It was really, really early in the morning. It has been a day. That's all I'm going to say about that. But it was very early in the morning and the sun was coming in my window. I tried to minimize it as best I could, but the blinds only cover so much. So my apologies. I adhered that down to some Desert Storm cardstock, and then I decided to heat emboss my sentiment. I treated it with my anti-static tool, and then I'm going to stamp it. And originally I went with the happy birthday because that's what I went with. It was, you know, happy birthday. But then after I had, you know, heat embossed it, you know, you guys have seen this show before, you know, I'm going to cut it into little labels. I realized that it was just kind of like meh. It was just kind of like plain. And this is a super just fun, festive set. So I changed the sentiment. I did it the same way, but I changed it. And so it says, it's your birthday fiesta time. And I thought that was so much more, I don't know, just fitting for like those really bright colors and bold blooms. And I liked that so much better. So I'm going to stack them. I've added some dimensional adhesive on the back of them, and I'm just going to stack them in the center of the card. I'm really just going to let the flowers kind of be the star of the show here. I thought about adding some sequins, and then I was nervous that it would kind of take away from the pattern in the background. So I opted not to do that. I just stuck the sentiment on, and then I called it. So that's it. That's the whole card. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have not been hopping along with Hero Arts, I recommend that you head over to the blog. There's lots of inspiration to see and chances to win. And that is through April 8th of 2018. So I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.